The Montreal Canadiens are one of the few NHL teams this week who don't really have much to do. They had themselves a game on Tuesday against the Kraken, then they have a matchup against the Ottawa Senators on November 1st, Saturday. Then they have themselves a game again on Tuesday, November 4th. So literally, it's a 2-game week for the Canadiens. Lots of rest, lots of time for these other NHL franchises to catch up to the Canadiens in terms of games played. The Habs have 11 so far, and there are a bunch of teams at 10, some at 9, and others who are a little bit higher than that. But the Habs are kind of taking it easy this week, which gives us the opportunity to just start talking about guys that are doing well. And in particular, a very renowned, literally record-setting goal scorer in Montreal Canadiens history. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to be about Cole Caufield. And I'm so happy that we have an opportunity, or even the right, to go out there and make a video about Caufield once more, because I feel like it was just yesterday that we were making videos every weekend after NCAA weekend, seeing what Cole Caufield was doing with the Wisconsin Badgers. That was such a glorious time for this YouTube channel's run in the 2019 to 2020 era, where Cole Caufield was dominating in college, and where we'd make videos consistently about what he was up to. Oh, he had a multi-goal game, oh, he did this, he did that, he was so good, and Cole Caufield love was one of the biggest forms of currency on this YouTube channel. But today, we're talking about Caufield as a Hab, and an article published on Montreal Hockey Now that talks about how Cole Caufield deserves more respect. This article on the new and improved, it looks like, Montreal Hockey Now website published by Mark Dumont will be linked in the description below. Go out there and give Dumont his ad views. This is a really good piece. But essentially, I wanted to dive into the thesis of what this article proposes, how Caufield deserves more respect, and what has happened which has led to Dumont writing about this in the first place. The article talks about how Cole Caufield has now scored 11 overtime goals for the Montreal Canadiens during his career, a franchise record. And yet, it seems that he's still being judged by many as a diminutive forward, rather than one of the most effective goal scorers in the NHL. Now, yes, it's true, Cole Caufield is the #1 Montreal Canadiens overtime goal guy of all time, and that is amazing. I won't discredit the fact that, 3-on-3 overtime makes it a little bit easier to score now compared to when Howie Morenz was playing 100 years ago, but still, hockey is hockey and records are made to be broken. Cole Caufield literally just went out there and did that with his 9th goal on the year against the Seattle Kraken. Just look at the goals, man. He's scoring a ton, and if you head over to the National Hockey League in general, only 0 players have more goals than Cole Caufield this season. Kind of interesting how Jack Hughes and Caufield are both in a tie with McKinnon and Dorofeyev for #1 in the league in goals. That's absolutely nuts, and we will definitely see ourselves at least one of these names pull away as the year continues on. Can Cole Caufield win the Rocket Richard Trophy? I honestly think it's possible. I believe more so in his goal-scoring ability to sustain itself throughout the course of a year versus a Pavel Dorofeyev, for example. Maybe that's me disrespecting Dorofeyev. Who really knows? But the point is, Cole Caufield is good at scoring goals, and this article goes out there and says such. The article then shows this. A recent 2026 Team USA Olympic roster projection produced by the NHL omitted Caufield, despite the fact that he's currently tied for first in the league in goals scored with 9. The NHL made this post on Twitter. The projected Olympic roster for forwards, they have Matt Boldy, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Jake Gensel, Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews, JT Miller, Patrick Kane, Matthew Nyes, Matthew Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk, and Tage Thompson. You then have yourselves Faber, Fox, Hanifin, Hughes, McAvoy, Sanderson, Slavin, Werenski for defensemen, and then for goalies you've got Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Swayman. The top reply goes out there and says, "Where's Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar?" Yeah, we'll just let this Twitter user live in peace. But essentially, what Dumont is writing about on Montreal Hockey Now is, hey, why are all these forwards on the list and Cole Caufield's not? He's got more goals than everybody, except for Jack Hughes. So what gives? Let's go back over onto the article here. The main issue raised when discussing Cole Caufield's potential impact on Team USA's Olympic lineup is that he's a one-dimensional player, and he would not be a good fit unless he's used in the team's top six. Rather than discussing hypotheticals based on empty rhetoric, we're going to delve into the numbers to paint a clearer picture of Caufield's value. 30. He has scored 30 goals at 5v5 since 24-25, the second most amongst all NHL players. To give you an idea of how impressive he's been, Brady Tkachuk, who is considered a lock for the American roster, scored 11 goals at 5v5 in that same stretch. This should be enough to convince anyone that Caufield is clearly able to make a significant impact beyond playing 3v3 hockey in overtime. 60.9. We tend to think that he is a defensive liability, but he's part of one of the most dominant lines in the league. Alongside of Suzuki and Slavkovsky, the Habs' first line has controlled almost 61% of the expected goals this year. In other words, he doesn't have to spend much time defending because his line drives the offense like few others. And 18. Even though scoring goals is an area of strength, it's worth noting Caufield has registered 18 primary assists since 24-25, good enough for 30th overall in the NHL at 5v5. And so ultimately, what Dumont is writing about here is that Cole Caufield demands more respect. The guy is small, and he's got that reputation of not really being all too two-way efficient, and he's not going out there and saying necessarily that Caufield's a Selke-level defensive player, but he is saying that Caufield and the players he plays with are good enough to hold themselves accountable defensively on the basis that they're going out there and dominating offensively and not really giving the opposing offenses an opportunity to even strike. There's no need for Caufield to be the best defensively because he just doesn't really need to play defense that much. His team is so good at being offensive that they don't really have defensive struggles. So ultimately, that's what Dumont writes about here. The top comment on the article says, "I love Caufield as much as the next Habs fan, but who would you exclude out of the top six on the US squad to find a spot for Cole? I, too, believe that he needs to play a top six role to be effective. He's not a bottom six grinder. His defensive play isn't elite, which is what an Olympic caliber bottom six needs. So, which of the US top six has to go to make way for Caufield?" Dumont said, "I'd say any of them who have scored fewer goals than Caufield since 24-25. So all of them except for perhaps Thompson. In reality, they should be asking which players on Team USA are good enough to dislodge Caufield from the top six." Which is quite the remarkable statement. Would you automatically assume that Caufield is a lock over this group of forwards in a top six role? Honestly, I'd say that JT Miller's been pretty ass this year, so you can take his spot there, Cole. But everybody else, you can say there's either longevity or status that puts them in that conversation. The question is, though, is Caufield's play just too good that you have to ignore sometimes the seniority that comes with these types of things? And also ask, where the hell are Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar? So if you enjoyed this video and you agree with the sentiment here, Cole Caufield demands more respect. He deserves more respect. I'm going to leave a link in the description to the article in Montreal Hockey Now, and also ask that you leave your comments in the comments section below. Likes help out with the video and the algorithm, so I'd appreciate it if you got involved there too. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.